Okay, I'm Wade Laszlo. I'm here interviewing Mike Golen, business agent for Teamsters Local 320, about the 1981 strike that in Hennepin County at the Juvenile Center, juvenile correctional facilities. And Mike, that strike lasted from January 16th until March 17th, is that correct?
Yeah, it was very long. 9 weeks of grueling, long strike.
Standing out in the cold of winter. And
The first day of the strike, at midnight that day, we went around and cleared everybody. I was with Jack Mogelson and a couple of the stewards. Jack was the business agent. And we hit the downtown institution. We had other people doing the same thing out at the home school. And at the time, we were also renting some land over in St. Paul and at a third institution. And so we had people showing up at each one at midnight, making sure all the correctional officers packed up and left. Then we were told to be at our posts at 6 a.m. the next morning. Mine was in front of the courthouse in Minneapolis. It was 20 plus below. At 6 a.m., I'm standing there trying to stay warm. About 6:20, I look down, and about 2 blocks down, puffing down, I'm out in front of the courthouse, and puffing down 3rd Avenue, I see this guy with a hood on, all in black. Can't tell for sure what it is, and there's just big billows of smoke coming out. It's just cold as heck, and he's running. Finally gets up, and I recognize the nose. It's Jack Mogelson. So now here's Jack and I standing next to each other, trying to keep warm. Got our picket signs. Like anybody gives it a rip. It's 6:20 a.m. Anyone that is going by is just trying to get to work. Anyway, about 7:30, a few of the others started to straggle in. By 9:30 that morning, we had a pretty good strike going, and that's how it got kicked off for me.
what were the main issues for you during the strike?
Well, I was more of a guy in the trenches. At that year, I wasn't on the negotiation team. I became a steward just after. But I was there with the business agent. Jack knew me quite well, and the stewards knew me. And I guess I was an agitator, a fairly well-known one. So Jack had a habit of picking up some of us and taking us to other things that were going on in the community, other strikes, stuff like that. Sometimes if he just needed some guys to stand around and looked like they were tough, came and got me and a few of the guys. So I was already kind of on the inner circle. But for us, it was mostly about treatment. It wasn't really about money. Seniority was a big issue, but even that wasn't the top issue. It was simply how we were being treated. We felt like, and I know you've experienced this, Wade, and I think most correctional officers in the world have experienced this, but you're always kind of the lowest people on the totem pole. And you almost feel like you're the wayward high school children. It's like you got the principal, not the sheriff or the superintendent, and they're out there with that whip all the time, and the hammer's on you, and you're always squeezed between the perps or the inmates and the administration, and then to some degree the public. We're always in the middle. We've only got each other. And we were feeling very entrenched. As you've also experienced, there's been a lot of times in Hennepin County when they didn't have enough bed space. You got a large percentage of your population out on cots and stuff. Administration says, well, separate them by sophistication, Oh, well, in reality, most of these kids are gangbangers, and they all cut our throats. Given the chance, for crying out loud, what level of sophistication do you want? Who will stab me a little less? It was this kind of thing. So now you've got all these people that you can't even have locked up. They're just in day rooms. Granted, they're locked in a day room, but you know how that goes. You've experienced it. And then the overtime that goes with that, and then that gets tiring. We weren't really making a lot of money back in the early '80s. I don't think anybody made. Everybody was under $10 an hour. It wasn't. And granted, that was a little better money back then than it would be now. But it wasn't like you were getting very highly paid, and you were always kind of the grunts. As you're aware, you were always the people that were at the bottom of everything, and then the fact that they would listen to an inmate, especially because it was juveniles, although it wasn't always juveniles. I know I'm going on here, but juvenile warrants are good forever, and so we would get gangbangers, pretty darn hardened ones, that would end up back here for some other reason, that were from some other state, and that they'd get picked up on a warrant. We got to sit on them until they sorted it out, and that could be weeks and even months. And so now you're dealing with adults that not only aren't staying there and have no reason not to pound you. And there was a lot of assaults, and again, these weren't like children. Granted, there were certainly children there, but at least half the place, it was hardcore, well-muscled, regular street fighting sons of guns that would beat the hell out of you. So it was about how we were being treated, and the fact that we didn't have the security. I don't think they were taking it serious.
Now, during the strike, I've read stories of Brinks wasn't bringing money into the government center. Employees were unable to cash their paychecks. They weren't able to get food supplies into the cafeterias. What other unions honored the picket lines?
Every union, to my knowledge, honored it. Of course, a big thing when you have Teamsters, you're talking about transportation industry. And so all the trucking stopped. Nobody would bring anything in. What happened was they got management to take county vans and even to have paper so that they could do paperwork because nothing was coming in. They had them going out to off supply places and filling the vans with it and coming in. They were picking up meals. I think they were getting their food at the time. They were running out to the workhouse for the most part, but they were doing all that. They were doing any prisoner or inmate transport. They had to pick up anything that moved. They had to now do.
Okay, now what effect do you think it had on the county as a whole during that time?
I think the county had more problem with the lack of paper goods and just stuff being transported in general than they had with us. I mean, the county has had over 10,000 employees. What do they have now? 12,000 or?
I think something like that. Yeah.
So here we are. There were maybe 250 of us at the time max. It wasn't like we were the big fish in the pond.